Good evening. I'm your host, Karen Hudis, in this series on the network of global corporate control. Today we have Carmen Stanley, who's producing and directing, and Mo Jackson is doing the audio and the teleprompter, and we've got Mark Wesley, who's here as the floor director. Today's segment is about the power of love. This is a picture taken in 2011 in Vancouver, Canada, during Stanley Cup riots. The two people were both trying to get out of downtown and out of the riots when the woman, Alex Thomas, fell to the ground. In that moment, a man named Scott Jones came running over and bent down to comfort her. What happened next was a moment that couldn't be made up for a movie. The two embraced and kissed as a photographer snapped the famous photo. The two are still together today and living in Melbourne, Australia. I'm showing you this famous picture because this picture shows what the media is hiding from us. That is because the media is owned by the network of global corporate control. Just about nobody trusts the media anymore. Only 6% of people say they have a great deal of confidence in the press. What the network of global corporate control doesn't want you to know: the power of love is a mighty force. The media is hiding the strength of our love from us. We're hardwired to be kind. A study by Canadian psychologists has found that much of our joy comes from simply being nice. Being kind to other people makes us happy, the study found. Kindness also improves the way we perceive one another and our outlook on the world. Kind people, it should come as no surprise, see the world as a better place. The media has blackouts on information that it doesn't want you to know. For example, it's trying to hide civil unrest in France. France's main police union, Alliance, pleaded with workers to postpone demonstrations to give the police time to recover from the massive demonstrations. The first protest against the French government since Hollande came to power in 2012 kicked off on the 9th of March. On March 31, nearly 400,000 people took to the streets, disagreeing with the sweeping changes to labor laws, though organizers put the number at 1.2 million. On April 9, about 120,000 people marched in Paris and across France for a sixth time, protesting against labor reforms that made it easier for companies to fire their workers. Organizers called for yet another strike on April 28 and a massive protest on May 1st, Labor Day. Maybe we can show the shot of all those demonstrators. That's quite impressive. That's the Japanese demonstrators, where there are also mass demonstrations. They're protesting the U.S. base on Okinawa. You'll recall that it's the joint U.S.-Japan Committee under the Status of Forces Agreement that is keeping the U.S. military honest, because the U.S. military is in charge of defending Japan. Demonstrations can be manipulated, such as the regime change in Brazil, where the corruption of the unelected replacement government following massive demonstrations is at least as serious as the allegations of corruption against Dilma Rousseff. WikiLeaks says U.S. government records show interim President Temer was an embassy informant for U.S. intelligence and military. Ecuador, Venezuela, and El Salvador recalled their ambassadors from Brazil in protest against Rousseff's suspension. Thousands of Rousseff's supporters have rallied against the coup. Demonstrators are emphasizing that the right-wing interim president and many of his allies face actual corruption charges, while the suspended elected president has not even been charged with a crime. But the biggest media blackout of all is on José Rizal's proclamation and declaration of the gift of love. In this series on DCTV, I've been telling you about José Rizal and the assets in the global debt facility. DCTV is providing a forum so that you can learn about the 1.7 million metric tons of gold that José Rizal put into hiding so that there would be no claims when it came out of sequestration after 50 years. I've told you about how the 188 ministers of finance on the Board of Governors of the World Bank are in charge of administering the trust that José Rizal established for the benefit of humanity, which contains Treaty of Versailles bonds worth $2 quadrillion. And I've also told you about the gemstones, which you can see on the crown of the Queen of England, and other precious metals, artwork, you can see the Monet paintings, and how the network of global corporate control is bankrupt and is getting wound down, and that paper currency issued by the network of global corporate control is getting exchanged for local currencies and national currencies out of gold, called aurum. I've been sharing correspondence that I've written to politicians, the journalists, and the legal and accounting professions, and I've been answering your emails and comments personally. The information which I've been giving you checks out. The network of global corporate control's efforts to suppress this information has been backfiring. I simply repost links that are cut, and double the numbers of people read whatever the network was trying to suppress. What's even harder for the network of global corporate control is when groups of us work together to document the lies, as when Nick Blaine told me about Anatoly Fomenko's work at Moscow State University, which shows how the network of global corporate control tried to lie about our ancient history, and when Betsy Malone showed how we share the same reality. This past year, I've documented how the network of global corporate control has unsuccessfully tried to steal our wealth and is trying to hide cures for diseases, alternative energy, attempted nuclear attacks, the murder of Justice Scalia, and attempts to hypnotize us with remote technology. Is all of this just theoretical? Not at all. The way I know that the reality which the network of global corporate control has been trying to conceal is going to become apparent is due to the power transition model that came to the World Bank in 2004 and which predicts how coalitions will form. This model predicted that the United States was going to lose the gentleman's agreement to simply name the president of the World Bank. This happened in 2010. When Elaine Colville and I disclosed the corruption at the World Bank to the United Kingdom Parliament, that was when the power transition model started predicting that the network of global corporate control was going to lose out to a coalition for the rule of law on the Board of Governors of the World Bank and IMF. Because of this coalition, I now vote for the United States on the Board of Governors and boards of executive directors of the World Bank and IMF, and also on the Development Committee of 26 ministers that sits between the annual and spring meetings. Now, this model is predicting that the United States is going to end state capture by the network of global corporate control and is going to return to its Constitution of 1789 with 90 to 95% likelihood. The power transition model clarifies why David Cameron resigned and helps in understanding the Brexit vote. David Cameron was asked point blank by 4 MPs why he was not accepting the offer of the UK's monetary gold reserves to replace paper currencies. Cameron simply stonewalled. This is corrupt. In the days leading up to the Brexit vote, the murder of Joe Cox was highly publicized. And on the 21st of June, I tweeted, "Has Britain had a PSYOP?" This is a standard operating procedure, and it's precisely what happened when Sweden's Foreign Minister Anna Lindh was stabbed on the eve of Sweden's vote to join the euro in 2003. The Brexit vote has caught global investors by surprise. As a result, gold skyrocketed on Friday following the victory of the Leave camp in the UK, and this prompted experts to dub gold as sound money. Gold has soared 25% to date this year following the UK's Brexit vote. Gold is regarded as a safe haven by flabbergasted investors. An article in Sputnik states that the Brexit vote has divided the modern history into before and after eras. Quote, "This is the 1989 of this generation, meaning the end of the era. At that time, the USSR ended the Warsaw Pact, and that was similar to an earthquake." Close quote. This vote took the network of global corporate control by surprise because they were counting on the vote being reported inaccurately. What does Brexit mean? It means that many people who were working for the network of global corporate control refused to miscount the British vote. It shows that there is now a movement not just for an exit from the European Union, but a movement to exit the network of global corporate control. I can't help wondering whether things might have gone the other way if the European Union had devoted serious efforts to cleaning up its corruption and listening to its whistleblowers. My testimony on whistleblowing in 2012 to the European Parliament Committee on Budgetary Control fell on deaf ears. Pretty soon, as more and more of the hidden reality about the corruption in the international financial system comes to light, the movement to jettison the network of global corporate control will become a stampede. The paper currency scam cannot hold up and is falling apart. It's falling apart in Greece and it's falling apart in Puerto Rico, where Puerto Rico's Governor Padillo has suspended payments on $800 million of Puerto Rico's debt for infrastructure. The challenge is going to be to print Treasury dollars before the Federal Reserve note collapses. And during this interregnum, the responsibility for allowing the Global Debt Facility to have access to the Federal Bureau of Printing and Engraving in Texas is squarely before the state defense forces. Let me tell you how this is playing out. On June 6th, I informed Governor Larry Hogan and Major General Linda Singh, Adjutant General of Maryland, that on behalf of the National Guard, I advised Mr. Hervé Latsou, who's head of the UN's Department of Peacekeeping Operations, and Lieutenant General Maqsood Ahmed, military advisor in the UN's Office of Military Affairs, to remove any and all troops seconded on U.S. soil for peacekeeping operations. The Special Defense Forces are not yet listening. Just 4 days ago, UN vehicles were seen on Virginia's highways. Maryland has a special role to play in the return to the rule of law. Mr. Dorsey L. Heil, Jr., Recordation Tax Supervisor in Anne Arundel's Office of Finance, has yet to issue the recording tax receipt to the Global Debt Facility. I left a check for that tax, and I haven't heard back from them yet. They refused to issue me the receipt. I'm requiring D.C. Chief of Police Kathy Lanier, who lives in Anne Arundel County, to stop preventing me from returning to work at the World Bank headquarters. What she's doing is illegal. The Global Debt Facility has a lien on Kathy Lanier's house, and the lien cannot be recorded because the tax office is not issuing a receipt for the recording tax. Governor Larry Hogan is preventing the lien that was already recorded by Maryland's Secretary of State. He's preventing it from being recorded in Anne Arundel County. That means he's corrupt. Texas also has a role to play. I've been reminding Governor Abbott that I had already informed him in November 2015 that the United States monetary gold reserves are not in Fort Worth. That was when a software developer approached me with a scheme to have Texas's state government be in charge of the world's gold reserves. I told him that the network of global corporate control was working through state capture and that there were no middlemen in the global currency reset. I told him that General Dunford's martial law rule in the United States was over and that the United States was in interregnum. The U.S. Congress secretly extended a state of emergency behind closed doors to keep a second secret constitution in place. The global debt facility containing the United States monetary gold reserves has declared the United States to be in interregnum and informed that military dictator, General Joseph Dunford Jr., or any secret successor, that they have no role to play in civilian matters. On December 30, 2015, a henchman delivered a very unpleasant message to me from General Joseph Dunford Jr., and I told that stooge that I was not intimidated and that I was loyal to my job and that General Dunford Jr. was not in command of the civilian government because the United States was in interregnum. On January 8th, I was attacked by DARPA military scalar technology, and I told the goons administering the attack that not a single cell nor a single mitochondria in my body was going to surrender. I made a full recovery. I informed the public at large of the attacks and threats. I defeated that Vatican agent Anna von Reitz's attempt to steal the world's assets for General Dunford on the 26th of January. The following day, in a letter to General Dunford, which I tweeted to the world, I held General Dunford accountable for refusing to reinstate Vice Admiral Tim Giardina and Major General Michael Carey after these heroes foiled the network of global corporate control's crime of flying armed nukes from one end of the United States to the other. After General Dunford attacked me in an attempt to steal the United States monetary gold reserves for the network of global corporate control, I discussed General Dunford's treason on the next live DC TV broadcast on the 9th of February. The Global Debt Facility is requesting safe conduct to the Bureau of Printing and Engraving plant in Fort Worth in order to print U.S. Treasury dollars. Since Switzerland has broken bailment laws and is not releasing the uncut Treasury dollars which UBS has on deposit in an account of the Global Debt Facility. On the 20th of June, I asked Maryland's Adjutant General, Major General Linda Singh, point blank, who the state defense forces were serving. What I said to her was, if this is incorrect and the state defense forces are not loyal to the people of the United States of America, please let me know. I will inform the people of the United States of America what is coming so that they can be prepared. The next day, I asked the executive directors, who are also authorized to view the accounts of the Global Debt Facility, to accompany me. So far, I have not heard back from any of them. Instead, yesterday, a group that calls itself the Five Star Trust asked me to help them to view the accounts of the Global Debt Facility. This is a one-way ticket to World War III. I told this outfit that the only way that someone could claim to be an authorized signatory of the Global Debt Facility was to be authenticated by the Board of Governors. They tried sending me confidential, for your eyes only information, which I promptly disclosed on my social media. And let me read you an email which I sent to the chief editor of TASS. Dear Mr. Briansky, the confrontation that TASS has described is only a theater concocted by the central bankers. There is goodwill and peace between the people of Russia and the people of the United States. The United States is in interregnum. As overseer mandate trustee of the Global Debt Facility containing the world's monetary gold reserves, I have invited the executive directors who have a right to access the Global Debt Facility to accompany me to view the accounts on Euroclear, including Russia's executive director. It was Eugene Myagkov who helped to reinstate me as acting general counsel of the World Bank in 2009. As the overseer mandate trustee of the Global Debt Facility, I also have the right to view these accounts. This correspondence is out for all to see on the internet. I'm writing this to you for a second time because the network of global corporate control that was exposed in 2012 by Vitali Glatfelder and Battiston of ETH Zurich has seen fit to erase what I just wrote you, since they have hacked into my computer. The power transition model that came to the World Bank in 2004 from the National War College is very clear. The network of global corporate control has lost its control as more and more people see clearly how they've corrupted the international financial system with paper currencies. Interest on country debt is a big scam that has been offset against the $2 quadrillion. I trust that Russia's executive director will be accompanying me together with Japan's. I see that we have some time, which is wonderful. All right, so let me tell you what I was considering doing today, and I'd actually like to leave this as a discussion point, and when I post this on the YouTube, you can all weigh in and tell me whether you think the time is ripe to do this. Because I am authorized to view the accounts. I don't want to go and view them with this outfit that sent me an email, and it was really very unpleasant. They kept sending me threats, telling me that I was required to disclose the accounts to them when they haven't been authenticated. So what I was considering doing is I do have the account numbers of the accounts on Euroclear, and what I was considering doing was writing again to the 26 ministers of finance on the development committee and sending the account numbers to Euroclear and going up there and seeing the accounts. And you will see very, very clearly whether I've been accompanied by any of these countries or whether they're just content to sit back and let the international financial system crumble. Because if we do not get this gold that belongs to all of the people of the world out of hiding, it's very clear this fiat monetary system is going to crumble. And what's also very clear now is that the elites are breaking rank. They're not following instructions from the network of global corporate control. If they had been following instructions, you would never have known that the people of the United Kingdom voted to leave the European Union. So we are now in a situation where the elites they're joining our ranks. And when I say our ranks, there are many, many people who are totally clueless about what we've been talking about. They're clueless over the fact that paper currency is going to crash, and it will crash. When the price of gold goes up, that tells you that we're in the very final days of a viable monetary system. And we don't want to go into permanent gold backwardation. Permanent gold backwardation, as we've explained before, that means that people who hold gold will not sell it at any price because paper currency it becomes worthless. There's no confidence in it. People are losing their confidence in paper currencies. And what the global currency reset is about is actually printing currencies out of paper, but issued by the national governments instead of this network of global corporate control, which is now exposed for many people to see. And these paper currencies issued by the national governments are going to be exchanged for currencies out of gold, which we will be minting. It's going to take some time to do that. And there's another form of currency which actually is much more important than the national currencies, and that's local currencies. And there are some local areas that are already issuing these currencies. We've discussed in some of the programs how this is done. the way it ought to be done is that the merchants and the people that provide goods and services in the local jurisdictions agree that they will accept this paper currency, which is then exchanged for national currencies. But in order for all of this global currency reset to take place, we've got the offer of the gold to each and every national authority. That's the ministers of finance on the Board of Governors. And we've actually heard back from 3 of the countries. One of them is a major country. I've already discussed that. We've heard back from Pakistan and 2 other countries. But there's really no point in negotiating the monetary agreement when we only have 3 countries. We need all of the countries to be on board. We need for me to be back at my desk at the World Bank. And in the meantime, in the interim, what we have is we have a system where the elites are now aware that enough people see them for being complicit. I have deliberately not been talking about what's going on with the elections in the United States. I've been in touch with both of the candidates, and these candidates are just part of the network of global corporate control. They are not talking about the United States monetary gold reserves. They're not talking about the breakdown and the unilateral surrender of the United States if we do not print treasury dollars that are exchanged for the U.S. monetary gold reserves. And the likelihood that we actually do get this global debt facility currency reset going, we know from this political science model that the likelihood is over 90%. But the challenge for us is to get this moving, because we are absolutely running out of time. So the question that I'm asking all of you actually is to let me know whether you think it's a good idea for me to just simply go to New York and to see whether the countries that I've written to on the Development Committee go with me. And actually, the biggest question is whether the state defense forces are going to back the people of the United States, whether we're going to be allowed access to the Bureau of Printing and Engraving in Texas. And for that to happen, we're going to have to see whether the elites are going to join with the rest of us. I want to thank you for listening to another segment of the Network of Global Corporate Control. The media blackout on the global debt facility is breaking down as David Cameron exits stage left after the UK votes were counted honestly and the UK exits the European Union. The honest counting of the UK votes was an act of love. Gold is inevitably coming out of hiding. We're waiting to see if the state defense forces remain loyal to the people of the United States. That would be another act of love. Until next week, I'm your host, Karen Hudis.
And we're clear. Rolling credits.